Hi everyone, this is the first video for the SIDRA intersection tutorials. I selected a simple site to start somewhere. It is in Perth, Australia. It's a relatively simple one, so 4 approaches and they are just a single lane, each direction that has a 2-lane approach here. You have some slip lanes, but relatively simple. So when you start using SIDRA first, I think you need to go to manage and select your country specific settings. Then if you go to site and go to add grid intersection to start, because this one's signalized, but you can also look at select template first. Maybe you can find something that looks very similar. So let me just do add grid intersection. The project area here shows the sites you have. Make sure that if you create other scenarios, you use the clone site or convert to site. So you can convert or clone to save a lot of time setting up stuff if you need to use basically the same setup, or you can clone the whole folder. This way you can just rename as required, but you can also delete, move them up and down. When you select the site, it brings up the settings you need to follow. It's basically a step-by-step approach you need to do. If you double click on site, it will bring up the default one. So let's start with intersection. Click on it. What you see here, this brownish orange color shows what you already have in the model, and the white ones show what you can have. You can't have more than these 8 legs, but you can change them around, but you can't change like the angles between them. So you must go with the setup they have. Just select which one you want from these. So in this case, I'm going to remove these two and add these two because I think, more similar to that. So to do that, leg geometry, no leg, leg geometry, no leg. And from here, it's going to be a two-way. Two-way because it's a two-way road. Site data is only just for visual purposes. You can put like site number 1 here. Site category, you can just select. Existing design and site name may be Lloyd. Lloyd intersection or Lloyd Street or road. What is it? Street. Intersection. When you start clicking onto these, then this approach geometry will change. So here you put Lloyd Street North. Two-way approach distance. What you measure is the intersection upstream there. So it's around 490. Then if I just check there are no intersections nearby, so this is way more than 500 meter, I think, or maybe not. Let me just have a look. If it's more than 500 meters, it's like 720. You probably don't need to worry a lot about it. I mean, you can set it up, but if you have queues more than 500 meters later, then you need to revise and update. So yeah, you can fill it out for every single one if you want, and just leave it program and approach data. Just use it, leave it as it is. No, you shouldn't worry about that at this stage. It is more like when vehicles are bunching together and you want to model that. And also here, so on this one it was 720. From here, well, it's a lot. It's 990. And on that one, this is I don't think I'm just leave it at 500 or can put it to 1000 actually because it is quite far away. Um, you don't want to include these because the a queue here is not going to block back like a movement like going east and west, for example, or block back a signalized intersection or a roundabout. So these are just small streets. You probably don't want to worry about those. Because here what you use is basically will be used for more like a queuing distance. So here you can also add names, but let me not dwell on this too long. You can change the road name here as well. This was the 2DA road west. No, east. Okay. In properties, it's fine. Just leave it as it is now. Just click OK. Go to movement definitions, and you see now the layout has been updated. If you go to movement definitions, here where you can set up your vehicle classes. If you want to have like buses, large trucks, or anything else, or here you can just define more. On the right side, this is important. So if you need to ban a movement, so let's say from the south you can't turn left or right, this is where you need to ban it. In Australia, you can't do a U-turn at signalized intersections unless it's signposted. So I just make sure that I to check that there are no U-turns. But all left, straight, or through and right turns are allowed. So I don't see any issues why they couldn't. You can put the little guy there to just have a look. Yeah, you can't see anything. So I think all movements are allowed. You hit OK. Lane geometry. So this is important here. This is where you need to set up the number of lanes and lengths and stuff and styles. So let's start it here. The south one or east one. As you can see, there is a very short section where it's a 2-lane one, but before that it's a single lane. So come here, you click on it. I just delete it. And I can just leave it like that. You can decide which way you want to do the short lane. You can have a look at some survey videos if you ever go on site to see how vehicles queue. But I think it's you just need to select one way when it's not that obvious, and you need to measure the distance. How long is that single lane? So what I try to do is where vehicles can diverge into a lane or where they can be next to each other, basically. So I think it's approximately here, so it's around 40 meters. The short lane length. Okay, this is signals, that is short. So this is a full length lane. And you see this is selected. So that is showing here. But if I move it, you can see we are there. So that is signalized, lane type normal, lane width. What you can do is you can just measure the two lane length. So it's a 6 meters, so probably it's around 3.1 because I don't think I measured it so accurately. Yeah, maybe around 3.1. The lane length, it is carried over from the um, okay I will show it after all. So when we set up the intersection for each approach where we set up the distance, this is all that is that. And if there are different lengths for lanes, you can set it up here. Okay. You can also add grade if you want, if it's not flat. And so here again, just the lane type is short lane there. Let's signal short lane length. And that's it. You just leave it as it is. It's also 3.1 here. I apply. Okay. Let's go through because I'm getting an error because here the movement is not allowed yet, not set up. But let's go on to here. So I remove that lane. So you just click delete after selecting it. But you can also add this island. It is important when you have pedestrians, so it will, if you have a pedestrian crossing and if it's a wide island, you need to consider that. So you can select that also, click on it, and you can just select the front or the back. I think it is just basically a very simple one, or even the back is like 0, so it is something like this. Okay, let's do the other one. So here is basically the mirror of the previous one. And also, if you see here the lane discipline, so which lane turns where, that will be set up later. And so now I just delete this lane. Then I do the same settings here, so I delete that lane as well. I have a short lane. I go with the same settings as I did here because I think they are identical. And here is 990 as previously set up. And again, to just see, this is a short lane. So the configuration is a short lane. Let's measure the lane width, but I'm just going to assume the same setting as I did for the other because I think it's like, it should be something like that. I mean, I can't be so accurate, so maybe 3.2. I don't think it will make a big difference, that 10 centimeter, to be fair. And you can also do the same for the exit link. So here it is changing, but it's quite wide. So you can put like maybe 4 or 5 meters. Yeah, you can just set it to 5 meters. Same here. And so this is going to be more interesting. So if you look at here, it's a single exit and a short entry, and the 2-lane section is probably starting somewhere here. So it is 43 meters. I think it's 45, maybe it's a bit more realistic, like that. And the short lane is 45. You can round it to the nearest fives. You don't need to be that accurate. And you can see it also shows here. Now, I go to lane discipline, and here I set up a left turn for light and for heavy vehicles as well. Let me come back to here later. So now I set up. I can also set up this to be a high angle turn. So if you look there, it's like a slip. And so this way, you need to make sure that here the lane discipline is set up correctly. Otherwise, it would have a different layout. So let's just have a look here. So from this lane, you go left and you go straight, and here you go right. So here, you also need to set up from this lane the right turn. You can click on it here to do it for both. And we don't want the straight. So this way. But so let me just show you something. If I remove the straight movement from this one, you see it will create a different setup. So that's why you need to make sure that you set up properly. So now that's done. I think that looks all right. Let's do the same for this one. So this is 45 meters again. I think it's the same on each side. Then we go here, we delete this lane. We delete this lane as well. And we need to do the same. Lane type, high angle. There are other settings like low angle, but as you can see, that's not the one you want. You want the high angle. we need to set up now the discipline, and let's discuss it now. So here, when you go to lane discipline, you can select each approach, and the same way as before, your lanes and approach and exit is shown. And for each lane, you can set up which movements are allowed here. So if you click on this one, it will tell which movements are allowed from that. If I click on this one, I can set up which movements are allowed from this lane. So I think all the lanes look now, it looks fine. So from the far side, you can turn right. From the left side, you turn left and go straight. And they are all give way here, not signalized. Yes, these are give way. Okay. Now, when you have these kind of slip roads, when you have the slip roads, you also need to have the free queue distance. So this is basically how much distance you have here. So how much distance from this line vehicle can queue without blocking back this movement, or this one here to show how many vehicle can queue from this stop line without queuing back this movement. So probably it's around 10 meters from there. And probably around 8 meters from there. So 10 meters from here, 8 meters from there. So from the straight movement, it's 8 meters here and 10 meters from here. I assume the same things for both sides. I just don't want to measure everything and spend 10 more minutes on it. I think it's more or less the same. Okay, let's just have a look. Maybe this is a bit different. Okay, it's 15. And yeah, and probably it's around 14, maybe 13 from the straight movement. So this is a little bit longer. Then you go to lane data and you don't change anything. You just go with the basic stuff, the basic saturation flow. Again, consult HCM if you feel this is not right. And also, if you validate your model, you check, you can make measurements on site, or you can just basically run the model and see the queue lengths with the signal settings and everything you have on site. If this saturation flow works out well. If it doesn't, you can change it, but just leave everything as it is, I think, for now. Okay, lane movements. So this is something where you share one movement from each lane. So let's say both, it's a 2-lane straight and it's a 2-lane exit. So both lanes can be used to go straight. Here you can say what is the split basically. So if you have one more lane here, let me just do an example for that. Okay, it looks horrible, so not here, maybe here. So if both lane can go straight, you can add exit lane or approach lane with this. So with this you add to the left, with this you add to the right. Here approach lane add to the left, add to the right. So in this case, if you have both going straight, that's the way you can add, or you can use this lane geometry, the percentages, the proportions, and you can use these as well, the movement classes, if it's important. This is something you don't really need to worry about, this blockage calibration or these. Just leave it in case you can justify your settings. If one lane is much more heavily utilized, you probably want to use these. And then pedestrians. So on street, you can see there are no pedestrian signals and crossings. or at least just informal ones, as far as I can see. No, actually there is a pet crossing. I don't think there is a pet. No, there is no pet crossings. Probably there was, but not anymore. So in this case, what you do is you just select main crossing none. None. You need to select basically each approach and then select none. And now you don't need to do anything there. This is for today. In the next one, we will carry on with the volumes and signals and all the other settings and movement data. And there will be, of course, intersections later where there are pedestrians and stuff. I just don't want to have literally for 2 hours talking. So yeah, let's see in the next one, in the next couple of days, hopefully. I hope you found it useful. Thanks for watching.